He's a billionaire with everything money can buy. Yet his own granddaughter was living in a cold, forgotten shelter. When he finally found her, one question froze them both. Where did your $2 million trust fund go? What follows is a shocking tale of betrayal, lost childhood, and a fight for justice that will leave you breathless. From hidden secrets to a dramatic confrontation, this story proves that sometimes the richest treasures are not money but courage, love, and family. He had everything money could buy: mansions, yachts, and a name that opened every door. Yet none of it mattered the day he walked into a small, forgotten shelter on the outskirts of the city. A faint silhouette caught his attention. A girl curled under a threadbare blanket. There was something hauntingly familiar about her posture, her fragile hands clasped tightly to herself. He approached cautiously, heart pounding, the city's noise fading into silence. And when she looked up, recognition struck him like lightning. Her eyes, wide and wary, mirrored a reflection of his own loneliness. She flinched at his touch, unsure if this stranger meant kindness or threat. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice trembling, barely audible. The question pierced him deeper than any boardroom betrayal or stock market loss ever could. He swallowed hard, trying to steady the lump in his throat. I think you're my granddaughter," he stammered, disbelief painting his tone. Tears welled in her eyes, a mixture of hope and disbelief. "Grandfather?" she asked, voice cracking, almost too fragile to hold. He nodded, gripping her hands, feeling the frailty of her bones beneath his palms. Memories of a daughter lost years ago, the secrets buried, all came rushing back. Where have you been all these years?" he asked, voice tight with emotion. Her lips quivered, the truth too heavy to speak immediately. She had run away after her parents' sudden death, believing the world wanted nothing from her. The shelter became both refuge and prison, a place where she hid her grief. Nights were the hardest, as shadows whispered memories she could not forget. She thought the billionaire in the papers, her grandfather, would never care. Yet here he was, staring at her with both recognition and sorrow. For the first time in years, she felt seen. He could barely reconcile the idea that the granddaughter he had provided for was living like this. A $2 million trust fund had been set up for her, untouched for years, yet she had never received it. She looked at him, eyes clouded with pain and mistrust. I never knew," she whispered, voice breaking. He felt rage at the people who had kept her in the dark. But there was no time for anger now. He had to reach her. The shelter manager watched silently, unsure of the connection but sensing the gravity of the moment. He introduced himself as Mr. Ellis, the billionaire, her grandfather, the man whose name could change her life. She shook her head, a weak smile forming. "Why now?" she asked. "Why come to me now?" Her questions hung in the cold, sterile air, heavy with unspoken truths. He had no simple answer, only remorse. He promised her the world she had been denied, yet she hesitated, the weight of abandonment still fresh. She had built walls so high around her heart that even a billionaire couldn't break them easily. But curiosity and faint hope began to stir within her. Could someone truly care after all these years of neglect? Could love exist where absence had ruled? He vowed silently she would never suffer alone again. The first days were awkward, filled with tentative conversations and stolen glances. He brought clothes, warmth, and assurances, yet she recoiled from sudden generosity. Every luxury reminded her of a life she could not access, a trust fund she never touched. She felt resentment mixed with disbelief, emotions tangled like vines. Yet slowly, she began to listen. Slowly, trust crept in. One night, he revealed letters from her parents, long hidden, detailing their hopes and dreams for her. She read them with shaking hands, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. They spoke of love, of dreams, and of her rightful inheritance. She couldn't believe how much had been kept from her, how long she had been left in darkness. Questions tumbled in her mind like a storm. And finally, she asked the one question she had waited years to hear. Where is my trust fund? Her voice trembled, a mix of anger, fear, and hope. He sighed, ashamed, and led her to a private office within his mansion. Documents lay neatly arranged, signed and stamped, the money untouched. She stared, disbelief written across her face, as the truth finally sank in. $2 million, hers by right, but lost to years of secrecy, and she realized something deeper. Money could never replace lost time, lost love, lost childhood. Her emotions conflicted violently: joy, sorrow, anger, confusion, all in a single heartbeat. The mansion, the staff, the luxury, it all seemed meaningless compared to the year she had lost. Yet he wanted her to feel at home, to see that wealth could bring protection, not just power. Slowly, she began to explore, to test the boundaries of her new reality. Every room told a story, but none as loud as the silence between them. Could she forgive the world? Could she forgive him? He introduced her to the legal team managing her trust, explaining her rights and options. She listened silently, overwhelmed by the sudden surge of responsibility and opportunity. He knew she was not ready for the limelight, for society's expectations. He simply wanted her safe, grounded, and above all, free to choose. She nodded, a silent acknowledgement that her life was shifting, but questions remained, gnawing like shadows at the corners of her mind. Even with wealth, even with love, the past haunted her like a relentless ghost. Memories of nights alone in the shelter, of hungry stomachs, of whispered taunts, all returned uninvited. She feared people would see her weakness, her vulnerability, and yet he promised to stand by her, a pillar against the world's cruelty. Slowly, she began to breathe, a little lighter than before, but the question of how her inheritance had been withheld still lingered. A mysterious lawyer's note arrived, hinting at irregularities with her trust fund. Someone had manipulated the documents, diverting her inheritance for years. Fear gripped her heart, suspicion clouding her trust in everyone around her. He promised to uncover the truth, to protect her from those who sought to harm her. Her heart raced with anticipation and dread. Could betrayal exist even after so much love? The answer was closer than she imagined. The first confrontation came swiftly, with a distant relative claiming authority over her inheritance. The man had power, wealth, and cunning, and he wanted her fortune. She felt fear, but also a spark of defiance. For the first time, she realized she had allies, and one of the most powerful ones stood by her. Her grandfather, once absent, now roared with protective fury. Together, they would fight for her rightful place. The battle had begun. Her nights were restless, filled with dreams of betrayal and longing. She saw the shelter, the cold floors, and the hungry nights, all juxtaposed with her new reality. The contrast made her question humanity, loyalty, and fate itself. She wondered if she could ever forgive those who abandoned her. And yet, the warmth of her grandfather's presence brought fleeting comfort. Hope flickered like a candle in a dark room. Each day brought a new revelation, a new challenge, and a new piece of the puzzle. Letters, accounts, and testimony surfaced, pointing to hidden schemes. Her anger boiled, tempered only by her grandfather's calm guidance. She felt a strange empowerment, a strength she never knew she possessed. Money had given her access, but justice gave her purpose, and purpose ignited determination she hadn't felt in years. Her grandfather shared stories of her parents, tales of resilience, love, and the mistakes of those who thought they controlled destiny. She listened, absorbing wisdom she had missed in childhood. Each story built bridges across lost years, healing wounds she hadn't realized existed. Slowly, she began to see herself not as a victim, but as an heir of strength and legacy. The journey ahead promised challenges, but also hope, and she vowed silently she would reclaim everything. She confronted the distant relative with quiet fury, her voice steady despite trembling hands. "The money belongs to me," she declared, her words sharp and unwavering. He sneered, confident that his influence would overpower her. But she realized that her grandfather's presence was a shield she had never known. Together, they would uncover the secrets that had kept her powerless for years. The fight had only begun, but she felt ready. The relative laughed, thinking the young girl naive and fragile. "Do you know who you're dealing with?" he mocked, arrogance dripping from every word. She stood taller than ever, her eyes blazing with defiance. "I know enough to reclaim what's mine," she replied calmly. Her grandfather's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, a silent vow of protection. For the first time, she sensed true strength. Late that night, they discovered hidden bank accounts, letters, and contracts concealed by greedy hands. The amount diverted shocked them both, millions siphoned without a trace. The betrayal ran deeper than they imagined, implicating trusted lawyers and family friends. Anger mixed with disbelief coursed through her veins, igniting a desire for justice. She realized that reclaiming her inheritance was only the beginning. Now, she had to face those who thrived in deceit. They planned carefully, gathering evidence without alerting the greedy relative. Every document, every testimony, every detail was catalogued meticulously. She marveled at the sudden transformation within herself. A girl who once hid in shadows now hunted for truth. Her grandfather watched with quiet pride, knowing she had inherited more than wealth. Courage, resilience, and determination flowed through her like fire. The path ahead was dangerous but necessary. The first confrontation with the schemers came in a courtroom, cold and intimidating. Cameras recorded every word, every smirk, every lie attempted to undermine her. She spoke calmly, letting the evidence speak louder than her voice. The relative faltered, unsure how to respond, as each claim cut through his carefully constructed lies. Witnesses testified, papers were examined, and the truth became undeniable. The power of justice replaced fear. Days turned into weeks as the legal battle unfolded, tension mounting with each revelation. She learned to navigate wealth, power, and strategy with surprising skill. Her confidence grew, overshadowing the years of neglect and hardship she endured. She realized that money was not the prize, it was the freedom to claim her life. And with each victory, she felt the chains of her past loosening. The billionaire watched, amazed at the woman she was becoming. Yet not all battles were in courtrooms. Some were fought within the heart. She struggled to forgive the relative who had stolen her childhood, and even those who hid her trust from her. She wrestled with the anger, the hurt, and the longing for a normal life she never had. Her grandfather guided her gently, teaching her that justice did not always mean revenge. Healing would take time, but she was willing to try. Slowly, she learned the power of compassion. One evening, she returned to the shelter to see old friends, faces she had thought she'd never see again. Their welcome was warm, tears and laughter blending into a bittersweet reunion. She realized how much she had missed the simple joy of connection, the strength of shared struggles. She vowed never to forget where she came from, despite wealth and privilege. Memories of her past fueled her determination to protect others. Her heart expanded with empathy and purpose. Meanwhile, the scheming relative grew desperate, realizing his plan had failed. Threats were made, calls ignored, and intimidation attempted, but nothing shook her resolve. She had grown too strong, too smart, too fearless. Every attempt to undermine her only highlighted her power. The trust fund, once hidden, became a symbol of triumph, courage, and resilience. She finally felt in control of her destiny. At last, the court ruled decisively in her favor. Her inheritance restored completely. Tears of relief and triumph filled her eyes as justice was served. Her grandfather embraced her, pride radiating from every gesture. The shelter, the hardship, the last years all transformed into fuel for her courage. She realized that her past, no matter how painful, had prepared her for this moment. And for the first time, she felt truly free. She decided to invest wisely, not recklessly, thinking of future generations. Her heart guided her more than her newfound wealth. She established programs to help children in shelters, offering hope where she once felt none. Every action she took honored her parents, her grandparents, and herself. She discovered that giving back was more fulfilling than receiving. And slowly, she began to heal completely. But life, as always, held one final twist. An anonymous letter arrived, hinting at a deeper conspiracy behind her inheritance's diversion. Someone else had manipulated events, someone dangerous and unknown. Questions gnawed at her. Who? Why? And could they still threaten her future? The thrill of the chase returned, but this time she was prepared. The story wasn't over far from it. She and her grandfather pored over clues, determined to unmask the hidden enemy. Nights became strategy sessions, days filled with investigation and planning. Every detail mattered, every ally counted. The shadow that once loomed over her life seemed closer than ever. Yet, she no longer felt powerless. Courage and intelligence were her weapons now, and she would not falter. In the quiet moments, she reflected on her journey, the despair, the betrayal, the resilience. She realized that her greatest inheritance was not money, but strength. Every tear, every sleepless night, had forged her into someone unbreakable. She smiled, knowing she had transformed from a frightened girl into a formidable woman. And as she looked at her grandfather, she knew she had finally found a true family. Love, not wealth, had guided her home. The final confrontation loomed, and tension gripped her like never before. She knew that uncovering the mastermind would test her to the core. But fear no longer controlled her, wisdom and courage did. The pieces were falling into place, and the truth would soon be revealed. And when it was, the world would witness her triumph. She took a deep breath, ready for the storm. The storm came in the form of a secret meeting, shadows and whispers intertwining. Faces once trusted now revealed their duplicity, schemes laid bare before her eyes. The mastermind, cunning and confident, expected to intimidate her. But she walked in unflinching, every step echoing strength. The game of deception was over, and justice would prevail. She had grown into her power, unstoppable at last. And then came the final revelation, more shocking than anything she had imagined. The mastermind had ties to her past she never suspected, threads connecting betrayal across generations. Her trust, her inheritance, even her life had been manipulated all along. But she smiled, knowing she was ready for this final twist. Strength, courage, and love guided her now. She would not be defeated. The confrontation ended decisively, the truth fully exposed, and the culprits held accountable. Her inheritance secured, her heart finally at peace, she embraced a new chapter. Lessons of resilience, love, and justice now guided her every choice. She realized that hardship had forged a wisdom unmatched by privilege. And with her grandfather at her side, she felt invincible. The story of loss and betrayal had transformed into a tale of triumph. The mansion, once a symbol of power, now felt like home. The trust fund, once a point of contention, became a tool for good. She invested, protected, and gave back, using her wealth to uplift others. Her journey from the shelter to power became a legend whispered in circles of influence. And yet, she never forgot the nights of hunger, fear, and uncertainty. Those memories fueled her compassion and courage every single day. As the city celebrated her newfound status, she quietly continued her work with shelters and children. She understood pain like few could, and she vowed to make a difference. Her grandfather watched, proud, knowing she had become more than wealth or status. She was a survivor, a fighter, and a beacon of hope. The $2 million trust fund had never been the prize, it was the journey that mattered. And now, the journey had only just begun.